Hello there, lovely listeners. Jason here. I just thought I'd pop in at the beginning of the episode just to give you guys a spoiler warning. In this episode, we do give away some mild spoilers for Jim's films and what happens in the plot. And also, after the hour mark of the podcast, we do give away some quite big spoilers for the latest Jurassic Park film and James Bond's No Time to Die. So with that in mind, if you haven't seen those films, then maybe just try and avoid that section of the podcast. Well, thank you. Let's get on with the show.
1, 0, all engine running.
Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Jim.
This week we speak to filmmaker Jim Miskell. The video games of 1997 is just around the corner for us, and it will be a very Nintendo 64 heavy as we have quite a soft spot for that console. And as a lead up to the episode, we are joined by a man who also has a soft spot for the machine and one particular N64 game. You may not have come across Jim Miskell's films before, but he created the mockumentaries Going for Golden Eye, its sequel Bringing Back Golden Eye, and is credited as writer and executive producer for the new Golden Eye documentary Golden Era. So welcome to the Wolfie Pod, Jim. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
And we're very happy for you to be here too. So. Now, you are one of a few people who picked up where we got the name of the podcast straight away. And you told me to ask you about this in our DMs. So please, can you elaborate?
Yeah, I'm a massive Terminator 2 fan, obviously. And am I right that Wolfie's the dog which is killed in the deleted scene by the T-1000?
Yeah, it was Arnie trying to test to see if the foster parents were real or whether they were the T-1000. So he checked to see if there's what the dog's name was, which was Max.
Yeah.
And then so he said, "What's up with Wolfie?" just to see what response he'd get, and he obviously got the one that said, "Yes, I am the T-1000." So.
And then he said, "Your foster parents are dead."
That's it.
There we go. Well, the reason why I thought you might be interested is I have Arnie's costume from Terminator 2 in my living room.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I found it on Prop Store a few years ago. And it's
wow. Have you ever worn it?
I have. It absolutely drowned me. And I put my son in it too, and he couldn't walk.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
That's crazy.
It's got all the bullet holes in it from
nice.
The scene at the mall. It's just, it's awesome. I thought you might like that.
Well, I'll think of you next time I watch it now. It's amazing. Small world.
Cool.
Small world.
We're imagining Jim in the costume instead of Arnie. Well, if you ever do a sequel or a third film to complete the trilogy, then I'd hope to see you in that at some point as a little cameo.
Good idea.
Okay, so before we have a chat about your films, I just wanted to know, what exactly is it about GoldenEye that inspired you to create these films that you have about it?
That's a really good question. And I think when I was really thinking about writing the film, it's because when I was younger, GoldenEye was the one game that spoke to me, and it was just like, you play a game, you're like, I love everything about this game.
Yep.
I know every inch of it. I know all the secrets. I just know everything, and I'm good at it. And it just seemed perfect. And I couldn't believe it existed because, I came from playing on PCs, Doom and Quake and Duke Nukem and, Wolfenstein and Rise of the Triad, stuff like that. And then to be on an N64 Nintendo console playing this amazing immersive game where you really felt like you were Bond. I literally have the most distinct memories of playing it for the first time. I remember everything. I played the frigate and the music and rescuing the hostages, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is real. This is actually a game." It was as close to being in a movie as you'd been at that point. It was surreal. And at that point as well, most video games based off movies were rubbish. Let's face it, they were awful.
Yeah.
They were cheap cash-ins. And I was just playing this. It was like this amazing game that I'd heard about for a long time at school. People just saying, you need to play this, you need to play this. And I didn't believe them. And then when I got hold of it, it changed my life. Quite literally.
I think it had that effect on all of us, didn't it, Rich?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the biggest thing about it was that I think some ways N64 was still kind of a little bit scoffed at by some people, especially like your, PlayStation 1 owning mates. And I think GoldenEye was that game that had some cachet and it was proper, it was cool.
Yeah,
and
people cool.
It's like, it was the equivalent of like having, a Wipeout or a Tekken on there. It was this AAA, quite, mature, grounded game that, just sold a console. It wasn't a Nintendo game in the true sense of the word. It was very different for this, cute little charcoal grey box,
Yeah. I just never played anything like it.
Yeah.
But just never. It came out of nowhere and there was no hype for it. It came out 2 years after the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the defining game of my life, I'd say. And I've never really loved a game since like that.
Mm. And it was at that point, and probably still is, the best game that encapsulated James Bond with all the gadgets and using the watch and the mines and shooting security cameras so they didn't see you and all that kind of stuff as well. And obviously the multiplayer had a big factor in its popularity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I used to take my Nintendo to school. And I'd leave it in my locker. Yeah, honestly, because it's not like nowadays where you can just go online and play with your mates. You couldn't just. I couldn't have people around my house. I didn't know anyone where I lived for a start. So it was like my social life was dinner time for an hour or 20 minutes at break time. Someone would rush to my locker, grab the Nintendo, we'd run up to my form room, put it on the big TV on wheels. Remember them?
Oh, God.
Yes, I do remember.
With all wooden doors and the key. Like.
And we did that for the last 2 years of school, so 4th year and 5th year, and I never lost. Never lost on GoldenEye, ever. It wasn't even close. It was crazy. And even when Perfect Dark came out, I brought it in, we played it for a day, and people were like, nah, let's go back to GoldenEye. No one cared. I remember bringing my Dreamcast in to play Unreal Tournament at school. No one cared. We went straight back to GoldenEye. And it was it's where the seeds of the film came from, because I was really good, really good. And there was another lad called Adam who played in the form room who was cool. He had friends and he was tall and muscly and handsome. And I'm this skinny little guy. And I didn't dare play him. And he didn't dare play me because he was the best to his mates. I was the best to my mates. And that's kind of where the seed for going for GoldenEye came from when I was really thinking about it.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be funny if 20 years later, when you're adults, that you still were in that frame of mind? And that's where the seed of it came from back in the day when I wrote it.
Did you always plan for it to be a mockumentary, or?
Yeah, because I'd kind of realised that there's never been a mockumentary about video games. And that's the genre that I love. I love The Office, I love Spinal Tap, anything by Christopher Guest. Oh. I just think he's one of the most underrated filmmakers in the world. I love everything he does. And yeah, I didn't go to film school. You can tell from the film. It's very rough around the edges. But I just knew enough about what I liked and what I wanted to write about that it comes through. I think it's quite clear that you can tell I love GoldenEye and I love mockumentaries. And I'm quite proud of that film because I literally shot it in 2 days. And
wow.
Yeah, and I actually had a director lined up to do it because I didn't know anything about filmmaking. And he flaked out at the last minute. I think it was 5 days to shoot, and I'd booked all the venues, I'd hired all the actors, I'd made all the props, I'd made the catering, I was good to go. And he just pulled out, and I spoke to a family friend who's a university lecturer for film, and he just said, look, you know this film better than anyone, so you direct it. And I did. I don't know how I did it. I just turned up one day and went, "Hello, everybody. I'm going to direct a film," and just did it.
So what was the the casting process like? Obviously, because you had a decent, a sizable cast really for a production quite small like that. Never mind, like you had the extras during the actual,
Yeah. When I was writing it, I always wanted Ethan to be like the guy from King of Kong.
I got the Billy Mitchell vibe straight away.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a nasally, weaselly version of him. Essentially, and a lot of people got that, thank God. And there's a referee as well, which is like the guy in the documentary King of Kong. But like when I was looking for actors, every actor has like a headshot where they've got a chiseled jaw and a perfect hairline, and they've got abs, and they're really good looking, and they're all 20. Do you know what I mean? And I just really struggled to find anyone who would be like my age, or who could look my age and would look like an egotistical nerd, basically. And when you'd have an actor in a room to play a nerd, they'd play nerds like in a really cheesy American TV show like the Big Bang Theory, is it called?
Yeah,
like talking nasally and I am a nerd. And I'd be like, that's not what people are like in real life. Yeah. Like, we're trying to fool people, even for a minute, that this could be a real person. So, bizarrely, I gave up trying to find Ethan through casting days, which I held in Manchester. And I actually got married, and this bloke turned up as one of my wife's boyfriends. And he was like 6'5", with a perm in a ponytail, and was a wrestling geek and an actor, a budding actor. And I just was like, that's him. That's Ethan. And I just knew straight away. And, I just knew, like, visually that's what I wanted. And it was just a case of, can you get the performance out of him? And then as for the other roles, I actually can't remember too much about it. It's so long ago now. It's like 2016 when I cast it.
Wow.
Mostly it was friends of friends. There was a girl in it called Chloe. She was a professional actor. Bill was a professional actor who plays Steve. There was like a core base of about 7 professionals, and then just people who would help out on the day. Do you know what I mean? Can you be in this film? Yeah. And that's why some of the acting's crap. Some of the acting's great in it. Because it's just literally a mixture of professionals and people who are just helping me out, which is quite cool.
And what about Tom? Because I quite liked how he won the championship. It was quite a surprise. I quite liked the rule that you put in that if someone was to just come and like slap them, then they're automatically eliminated.
I'm glad you reminded me, because I've not watched the film in 5 years. I was like, oh my God, how does the film end? I can't remember. I added that just because I needed some drama in the film. And if it was just people playing, I don't think that'd be very interesting. So I thought, it was always embarrassing when you got slapped to death. And it's especially because I always played License to Kill with my friends. So it was any shot of anything, you'd be dead. And there's nothing more embarrassing than being slapped. So, I thought that would be a nice way of giving a fake out ending, You're concentrating on Ben and Ethan, and then Tom comes out of nowhere and wins it.
That's exactly what was happening, because that's what, as me as a viewer, was doing. I was all on Ethan and Ben, and I knew Tom was there, but I don't know, like the way that he'd been written throughout the whole film, and then that particular, because he only squeezed in through another player being disqualified in the qualifying round. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, you never really expected much from him, and then for him to just out of the blue just come up and just slap.
Yeah. And that used to happen a lot when we were younger, that sometimes like the worst player would just do an absolutely amazing play. Yeah. You'd be like, where did that come from? And I thought people might like that, and but it was fun. That was a really crazy 2 days though, because we filmed in the upstairs of a pub in a function room, and it was like the hottest day. Oh. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea, and I don't know how he did it. I genuinely don't know how he did it. And then, for it to even turn out remotely watchable, I'm so proud. Honestly, I'm like, oh my God.
How long did it take you to edit it afterwards?
Well, we filmed it in June. I think it was 16th and 17th of June. And then I wanted to release it for the 20th anniversary. I should have mentioned, sorry, that was the whole point of me making the film. It's because I was just shocked that no one was doing anything for the 20th anniversary of GoldenEye's release.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I've got to do something. Like, I don't care if no one watches it. I've got to do it. So we shot it in June, and then I had to have it finished, ready to premiere on the 25th of August, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And the editor that said he was going to edit the film, he also dropped out.
Oh, no.
So I just had to take a week off work and just blitz it. I've never edited a film in my life either,
Mm-hmm.
so I just had to figure that out. It was, honestly, lads, it was insane. I lived in my kitchen for months.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes it's best just to get chucked in the deep end, isn't it? And you just have to roll your sleeves up and get on with it. And I think the end result was a really good one. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get into bringing back GoldenEye then. And when you made Going for GoldenEye, did you always know you wanted to do a sequel?
No, definitely not. And on the director's commentary, I remember saying I would never do a sequel ever, because honestly, it took up so much of my life that it was difficult for me to even think about that film when it came out. Because I'd written it, I'd edited it, I'd shot it, I designed everything in the film. I did the Blu-rays, I sold it, I did all the deals. I was done. Do you know what I mean? I was done. I had 2 very young children at the time. And I was neglecting my duties, to say the least, for the love of GoldenEye. So I swore to my wife that I would never do another film, and well, I did another, and then I got divorced straight after it.
Oh no!
Oh.
So yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done another film. But the thing is, I always knew I wanted to do a real film, like a proper film.
Yeah.
I knew that there's only so much an amateur could do. It's all well and good making a film. I'd love to make a film. Yeah, I did it. Great, but especially when you're editing a film and you see all the problems and all the flaws, and you're just like, oh my God, if only a real director had been involved, if only every actor was professional. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, if I'm going to do it, I'll do it properly. So, obviously, I wrote a very different film second time around. I think doing another straight up mockumentary wouldn't make any sense. And I didn't want to write the same kind of film again. So it was a bit... I like to think of as Going for GoldenEye as being like the UK Office, where it's like, it's real, it's it's a bit dark, it's a bit cynical. The characters are a little bit more grounded and dark. And the sequel, I like to think it's more like the American Office, where it's a bit more lighthearted, it's a lot more silly. People know it's not real now, so there's no point pretending that we need to trick them. So we'll just go with it. And I think I always had a main character in the first script, and I took advice to get rid of him just to save costs. And I really wanted that character that's essentially me, bringing back GoldenEye to the masses. And got lucky with the right casting for that, because I think that Gabe, who plays Glenn, is a great anchor for the whole film.
Yeah, definitely.
But, making a real film, bringing back GoldenEye, was utterly surreal. Because the budget for the first film was about £10,000, which is nothing. And I think I spent about $250,000 on the second one.
Bloody hell.
Wow.
Honestly,
you can tell the step up between the two.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's just a completely different animal, isn't it? It's like I went from having... Oh, sorry, mate. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, when you say £250,000, it sounds modest, but you say $250,000, then it just completely breaks my brain. So,
but it's still classed as a low budget film.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Which is insane. But I went from having, say, the music I bought all royalty-free music for the first film, and then I had Grant Kirkhope doing original score, who is a Golden Eye composer, Banjo Kazooie, Mario, Smash Brothers, Warcraft. Utterly surreal.
I love how the music just like being a Bond fan and hearing the music, taking me right back to being a kid playing GoldenEye in my bedroom, just hearing that bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but did I hear like your composer threw in a bit of Goldfinger in there as well, like near the finale?
I'm not seen it in so long, mate.
There was some like proper beats now. I was like, wow, like he threw that in there as well. I was blown away by the whole music.
Towards the end, the music is daft. Like when it's sent through the temp track and I play it, the hairs on my neck would be on end. I'd be like, this is for my film. What the fuck? It just blew my mind. But I went from having a film shot in a pub with 10 extras to I had 120 extras in Leeds.
Wow.
Leeds University with a casting crew of 50 or 60 people. It's a proper production. It was insane. I remember being sat in the stands, just sat there thinking, I've done this. And I was just like, I was gobsmacked. And I had David Doak visit the set for a cameo.
It's so amazing.
That was stunning, that.
Yeah, it's cool.
That made me smile so much. Like.
Yeah, and I'm just sat there with him going, this is all your fault, David. It was utterly surreal.
It was just the line in there you put in the end that spoke to every gamer our age. I've shot you in the head many times.
Yeah, literally.
I was just like, no. I thought it was sublime.
Thank you.
I love the inclusion of the perfect dark rivalry in bringing back GoldenEye, and I especially enjoyed Todd throughout the World Championship scenes. The idea that he sponsored it all was also really funny and cool. Was he one of the characters you had most fun writing for?
Definitely. I think he might steal the film, to be honest. He's called Ben Mansbridge, and when I was writing the first film, he was nearly Ethan. I just couldn't. I just could not get a reply from his agent, and I think he must have moved agencies or something at the time. There was something I was reaching out and I was getting nothing back because he's a proper geek. He's a gamer, he's like me, and he loves his movies. He's just a geek, and you can tell. And he was amazing. The rivalry, I just thought it had to be done, and the idea that there's gaming gangs. It's just so stupid. Yeah. And, what is it? The Golden Eye Gang and the Perfect Darklings. I just think that's brilliant.
Right, yeah.
You can imagine it, and having the fight outside the video game shop.
Oh, for Conker's Bad Fur Day, yeah.
Yeah, arguing over frame rates and expansion packs and what game's better. We all did it at school. We all did it.
That was one of the best insults when I said about you're just upset you can only play 25% of Perfect Dark without an expansion pack. I laughed way more than I should have. I just was like, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic line. So, beautiful.
Thank you. I just, like I said, I wanted it to be sillier with more cartoony characters essentially. And Ben is so theatrical, which is more of his more background of a theatrical actor, and he steals the show, and oh god, I love him, and when he's I don't know if I should talk about what happens in the film. I'd like people to watch it, but the idea that he was blinded by a sandwich when he was 15, a triangle sandwich,
it's the most English gag ever, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's a line about a Derry Lee Dunker hit Greg's window or something stupid. And I just thought, it makes me laugh, and I don't care if it don't make everyone else laugh, because it's just so British.
Yeah, and then you had that spectator in the crowd just lob one at him during the championship, and it was all done in slow motion and this, that, and the other, and it was just so funny.
Do you know that was CGI as well?
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't tell, so it was brilliant.
Yeah. So on set, the prop guy, Craig, he rigged up a triangle sandwich with little wooden sticks that were quite sharp, so it stick together. And so he threw it. It was Ethan's brother, the character. He threw it, and then we had to go up close to throw it in his face. And we actually threw a real sandwich at his face, but it exploded on impact, and you could see the sticks holding it together. So our amazing editor, Lucas, he rotoscoped the sandwich out, and then I had a CGI sandwich made.
So wait, you the guy frame by frame rotoscoped out a sandwich.
Yeah. Oh,
God!
You've got no idea.
My God!
The editor, Lucas. Have you ever heard of Dead Man's Shoes?
Oh, amazing film. Oh,
He edited that. He does all Shane Meadows stuff. He's fantastic. And so when there's all the wide shots of the auditorium at the end where you can see GoldenEye being played on the screen, he had to rotoscope the original gameplay footage out because it never synced up and put the new footage in.
Oh my God!
That's incredible.
Honestly, like, that guy is a G. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah, because you can't tell. Sometimes you can tell, like, it looks a bit out of place, doesn't it? But
yeah.
In this, there was nothing to say. That's what happened in the edit.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I say funny, it was very stressful. So before we shot the film, myself and Dan Guest, the director, and a few of my friends, we sat and we did all the gameplay for the film. And we did it on a modded HDMI N64 and we recorded it. So I had complaints on the first film that I used emulators. Obviously, I wanted it to look the best quality, so I used emulators. So I thought, I'll take that feedback, use a real console, make it HD. But when you actually put it on a 4K, editing suite, it looked terrible.
I've done that myself. I've done.
It looked awful. But we shot the film, so we had all the actors playing the games that we'd already done specifically, hitting the marks. So then we had to go back after, and we had to re-record all the gameplay on an emulator, recreating every single moment. And it took about 2 weeks just to re-record all the gameplay, and then it was all put in again. Yeah, honestly, the amount of work that went into this film, it's insane. It's insane.
As a bit of a lifelong wrestling fan, I think I can speak for us all and say that I loved Ethan's Heartbreak Kid inspired entrance in the World Championships. Did that take long to come up with that scene? Was that something you just wanted to do straight away?
I can't even remember what gave me the inspiration. I just like the idea of embarrassing Daniel, the actor, to be honest.
He seemed to be enjoying himself. It didn't work.
Yeah, I just thought, Dan dressed up as a wrestler in a gold singlet singing a wrestling song. Yeah, it was easy. And like the lyrics, I wrote the song in about 20 minutes, literally.
Wow.
Just put all the GoldenEye jokes in. Oh, God, I can't remember the lyrics. Wait, one sec. Is it my curls get the girls, greatest GoldenEye player in the world. In the facility with just a club, still wouldn't stoop to play his odd job. PP7 to Miracle A's when I'm against it. Rambo could save you, because I'm the golden child. Boom boom click click. Definitely had run proof more than one chick. Asked Cher, she was there, but she wouldn't take off her underwear. Boom.
That's phenomenal.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Bravo.
That is streaming on Spotify right now if you want to listen to it.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's on Spotify, it's on Amazon Music. Stream away.
It's the fact that it just goes in from Bond weapons, even the Moonraker laser. I'm like, whoa. It's like mind blown right now.
It's funny. And like going to a recording studio to record that was ridiculous.
Wow.
I think we were in there for the morning, and this guy, I just played him the Shawn Michaels song. I went, do that, but make it shit. So I was just like, it can't be good. Like, it cannot be good. Like, make it as good as you can, but it's got to be good. It's got to be crap. So he tried his best to do a good song, but that's crap at the same time. But I think it's great. And like the entrance when he enters the auditorium at the end, it's brilliant.
Yeah. I quite liked the Ethan storyline throughout this second film, and like when you kind of find him in the tent in that just like wasteland of a field, and his hair is just literally all over the place. It was just, and then his nan turns up while he's being interviewed. It was just quality.
Any joke about cow pole is the most British thing ever. I just love that. It always makes me smile when I heard about it. Got your cow pole? It's just wonderful. Like, it made me smile so much. So.
He's just a wonderful character that you can just put him in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And everything he says is a lie. He wants to be loved. He wants to be respected. And the idea that his little grandma turns up with his cow pole and his scrambled eggs. It's just great.
Do you have plans to make one more film to complete the trilogy, or are you done now?
No, I'm definitely done now. Yeah, definitely done. I just think it's done. Like, I think the story ties up really well. I think everyone gets a nice happy ending. Ish. Todd loses another eye, but that's... oh no, yeah, he gets it back at the end. We reshot the ending. I forgot about that. Yeah, so I would like to... I've written 2 more films during lockdown, but they're very different. They're very, very different. But I just... I don't know if I can justify the time, to be honest, because it'd be another 3 years of my life, and I quite like my children. I like hanging out with them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it's something to put on the back burner until they're a bit older.
Yeah, but I think my son's got a cameo in the first film. I photoshopped him up to look ugly when I think Tom's talking about his ugly children.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I flash a picture of my son up, and I tried to make him look like... This will be a very vague reference, but do you remember crabs in Banjo-Kazooie that are all weird?
Yeah.
And one has a giant eye, one doesn't. I thought, I'll make him look like a bit of a Banjo-Kazooie crab. No, that got a good laugh.
Quality.
But, yeah.
And I just need to ask you as well: is that Golden Eye jacket still around?
Oh God, the amount of people have asked. The owner of that is a gentleman called Martin Hollis. I'm hoping you know the name.
Is familiar.
He's the director of the Golden Eye game.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky that through the films I've managed to make friends with a lot of the Golden Eye team and spend some really quality time with them. And I gifted it to Martin as a thank you for making my favourite game, and he kindly wore it when the film was released. Doing a few pictures on Twitter, and people thought he was just showing off.
Yeah.
They didn't realise he was taking the mickey wearing this Golden Eye custom jacket. But I do regret giving it away a little bit, because I did like the fact that I had that, and I designed that jacket. And
it's a quality jacket. I loved it.
It's stunning.
So when I saw it, I was just like, I want that. I want one.
People keep saying you should put them for sale, but I'll think about it.
I'd buy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I like. Speaking of jackets, when Tom transforms into the lone wolf.
Oh yeah.
So I contacted again back to wrestling. I contacted a seamstress who works for WWE.
Oh wow! Okay.
I want him to look like a wrestler, come into the ring. You're like just ridiculous, basically. So it's custom made by the WWE seamstress, and it's got like all little N64 controllers all over it. I don't even know if you can tell in the film. It's very... I don't know if you can just quite catch it, but it's all... Everything on it's N64 related. It's not just the lone wolf, do you know what I mean? There's lots to it, and I've kept that just because I thought that's too cool to give away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a one-of-a-kind
Definitely.
thing to keep.
Oh, Ethan, you're so hot.
I am the sexiest man of all time. To be this gorgeous should be a flipping crime. The ladies love me at the gaming convention. I turn their heads, getting all the attention. One look at me and the chicks are at heaven. Cause I got more game than 007. Cause I'm the golden child. I drive the ladies wild. They want my analog stick. My PP7 makes them love sick.
Well, let's just move into your latest project that's just come out, in Golden Era, and it was quite fascinating to learn what we did from the documentary. And were there any juicy pieces of trivia you found out for the first time yourself while making the film?
To be honest, probably not, because I'm a massive GoldenEye fan. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how much I know. It's truly embarrassing. I'm sure there's a few things, but because I've watched the film in edit about 100 times, I'm just completely immune to it now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's lots of things, but at the moment, because I think we all knew from back in the day it was meant to be a virtual cop clone on rails.
Yeah,
I knew that when I was 15, 16 years old, but it shocks a lot. One of my friends, Luke, didn't realise that. And the thing I didn't actually, not lie, the thing I didn't know was I didn't know that Miyamoto wanted Bond to visit the hospital at the end.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy, wasn't it?
To visit the soldiers.
Yeah. When I saw those clips, I was like, that is an amazing idea.
It's great. And the fact that Drew's amazing, the director, Drew Roller, he managed to recreate all these scenes, like Miyamoto walking through a hospital in the Golden Eye engine.
It was so wonderful.
It's fantastic. I think the thing that I enjoyed most about the documentary GoldenEra was hearing other people's memories about the game. Because, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 37. The 90s was a long time ago. There's no social media.
Yeah,
everyone had small circles. You went to school. You had a few mates out of school, and to know that there was other people all around the world, millions of people having the same experiences as me, just made me so happy. The multiplayer and staying up all night with your friends and the friendships that were formed in front of the TV, just magic. And hearing other people's little anecdotes, it's just brilliant. And I think it was also nice to hear the industry professionals who still understand the impact that GoldenEye had, because there's a lot of younger gamers now who are quite vocal about older games. They call them unplayable a lot because they've grown up with an Xbox 360 controller, which is one of the greatest controllers of all time, and they don't understand that there was stuff before that because we've played it, we know how it plays. So you hear comments about GoldenEye, it's aged terribly, the frame rate's crap. Well, let me tell you, in 1997, I didn't care about the controls. They were perfect. They're still perfect for me now. The frame rate, who cares? You were with your mates. You were having too much fun to care that it dipped by 5 frames a second.
I didn't even know what frame rate was back then.
Exactly.
No,
we used to say, it's lagging. The game is lagging. Do you know what I mean? We didn't know. We were just like... I could honestly say I never noticed when I was a kid.
No, not at all.
I still maintain that, I don't think even GoldenEye has aged that badly at all. I think it's just the N64 controller is what lets it down these days. I could play it with another pad now, and I know it's not the authentic experience, but I think the game still holds up, mechanically. I don't think it's a creaking mess like people make out.
It's the art style, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing else like it. When you look at it, it's a rare game. The quality of the textures of the models, the music, the art design, they were light years ahead of everyone back then.
Yeah.
And I might have my blinkers on, my nostalgia goggles, but when I play it now, I still think it looks great.
Yeah.
I still look at the hand holding the DD-40 port and I'm like, that is textured so well. And when it shoots, you can see the gun opening up, and the cartridge flying out. You're like, oh my God, they didn't have to do that. And they did.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I was 13 when GoldenEye came out. And it was the height of my Bond fandom, basically, because Tomorrow Never Dies was just about to come out. I was sort of becoming this mega fan. I was just like, oh, GoldenEye. Went to Woolworths back in the day, saved up my money, and bought an N64 with the GoldenEye sleeve on it. Still own it to this day.
Golden controller.
And I brought it up on one of our other recordings, and funny enough, my edition doesn't have the golden controller. That was a separate edition for the James Bond tie-in.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So there are 2 different GoldenEye tie-ins for the N64. I've got the standard one, but I've still got the immaculate GoldenEye sleeve that goes over the N64. And there's the cartridge nestled in the polystyrene.
I love it.
When I was a kid, I was just like, this is the single best. And you brought up the music. It's just it's like they've lifted Eric Serra's score straight from the film and made it better.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've got that metallic sound that Eric Serra managed to put into his score.
Yeah,
especially
I know exactly what you mean. Exactly what you mean.
Especially in the St. Petersburg and also in the facility.
Yeah, sorry, the facility, yeah.
Yeah, you replicate that the first time I think it's ever been done, James Bond theme on heavy bass drums. Mm-hmm. And it's in there, and I was like, you're fully immersed in that game. Music, the AI of the people, we've talked about it before on these recordings as well. that was mind-blowing back then.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, the way
normally
they,
you'd
like-
just have the goons just walking back and forth, looking around and walking back and forth. GoldenEye comes along, you can shoot their hats off. They scratch their ass. You blow flies away from their face. You shoot them in the knee and they hold their knee. They duck for cover. It's just, and then when it was brought up on the documentary, I was just like, wow. Like, and then even now, games are still struggling to replicate that AI.
Yeah.
I don't know how they haven't managed to do it, but like it just adds to the charm to the game.
It didn't make any sense either. Like, I think it was Jason saying earlier that it was a family-friendly console.
Yeah.
And you're shooting people in the penis and the whole groin.
Exactly.
Magic.
Yeah.
Absolute magic.
And I was amazed, actually. I don't know why I didn't know it until today, that my grandparents lived 5 minutes away from Twycross, where it was developed.
Shut up.
They lived in a little village called Appleby Magna, just off the big McDonald's roundabout.
Are you kidding?
No.
Then you find out your grandparents did motion capture for it. So
Yeah, that would be funny.
they never told you, Chris. They never told you.
What's quite funny is we used to go up there quite a lot in the mid-90s, so I was literally 5 minutes away, literally 5, maybe 10 minutes drive from Twycross.
That's
You
insane.
could have gone there and like been outside the gates and wait for him to come out. And
It's just mad, like how I haven't found out until literally this weekend that game was developed just down the road from that massive roundabout and the little villages.
It doesn't make any
It's
sense,
crazy.
does it? I mean, I remember reading it in N64 magazine, which was the best Nintendo mag when I was a kid.
Yep.
And you'd read about Manor Farm, you'd read about Twycross, and you'd read about the new offices that Rare had. And it just felt like another world.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an hour away down the motorway. And you're like, these get like Banjo-Kazooie, like that's made in England. What?
Yeah, I didn't think about that when I was a kid. I assumed they were all made by massive rendering games companies. Didn't once think that it was made by half a dozen people in a converted barn.
Yeah, and like back to GoldenEye, they were graduates. Martin Hollis was in his very early 20s. I mean, I don't know about you boys. In my very early 20s, I was useless at everything.
Yeah.
And this guy knocks out GoldenEye as his first game. Like, changes a genre. Inspires it for the next 20 years. Like, how? And I remember having dinner with him, and he's just the nicest, most normal bloke. And I just, like, the impact. I remember walking through Cambridge with him, I'm just like, all these people, they know your game. They know it. And like, I just thought, how does he go around every day knowing that every shop he goes into, every person he bumps into will know what he did, his work, and how mind-blowing that must be.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And he's just an unassuming, lovely, kind-hearted bloke. It's just surreal. Although he got me to drink some sake once in a Japanese restaurant, and I don't think I've still recovered.
No.
yeah, I think that was like when you mentioned that in the documentary about how GoldenEye had affected like the first-person shooter, even up to today. And I never really kind of put that connection together, I don't think, in my own head until I saw that in your documentary. And I was like, actually, yeah, it's right. Actually, it has, like Call of Duty and all that kind of stuff may not be what it is today without GoldenEye. And that made the game even a little bit more special for me now that I've realised that fact.
Yeah, it's a line straight back. If you go back from every successful console franchise shooter, it goes back to GoldenEye because it had never been done on a console. It had never worked. I don't think any first-person shooter had worked on a console, to be honest. I mean, I remember trying to play Doom on the SNES, and it was, it's unplayable. It was miraculous that it worked. And I remember trying to play Quake on the Saturn. Again, miraculous that it was ported, but it was borderline unplayable. You knew it was a stripped-down experience from the PC. This was a thing. Whenever PCs are always ahead, but in that time, consoles were ahead. N64 was ahead. You couldn't get Turok on a PC. You couldn't get Mario. You couldn't get GoldenEye. I mean, you certainly couldn't get 4 people around a PC monitor playing split screen. Yeah. That changed everything. And oh god, it's no wonder that like there was a massive boom. If you think that it was 4 years after GoldenEye, Halo comes out with 4-player split screen local multiplayer, and then a whole nother generation discovers that kind of experience, you know. And obviously, Time Splitters after that, and it's coming back. I mean, quite literally, Time Splitters is coming back. There's a hunger for it. Yeah. I don't think it's nostalgia. I think it's the experiences that people had, and the fact that GoldenEye was about James Bond is kind of irrelevant. Yeah. It could have been skinned anyway. Do you know what I mean? The artists that were involved in making the game were that good that it could have been about. Well, it could have been perfect art. People just saw those memories. It was just the right game at the right time. That's how good it was. Yeah. But the fact that you played as James Bond made it 100 times cooler.
Yeah.
And Pierce Brosnan's my boy. He's my James Bond. The bit where you're in a single player mission and the camera pans
I love
around.
That. Goes
Magic.
Into his head and you're like, boom, you're James Bond. It's a subliminal messaging basically, and you're like, you're there.
Yeah,
you
like,
see the hands.
I am there.
That and the when you die, and you get that little James Bond rift, and then the blood going down the screen. That was the other part.
That was fantastic.
I love that, and the enemies always continue to shoot your corpse. I always thought that was funny.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, boys.
But that's what I love is how faithfully it was adapted. But also, when I was a kid, I remember playing the game and then watching the film again, and it makes the viewing experience so much richer. Because you can have your headcanon and go, oh, that's how we got to the dam. That's how we got through there and through there. So the game is actually adding to your movie experience at the same time as the game adding to the film adding to the game experience. It's a perfect full circle, and it just works. And I remember house parties up until the early 2000s. Me and my mates were still firing up GoldenEye in our early 20s.
Love it.
And the multiplayer alone, just the way it just gave you the golden gun and the license to kill for the one-shot kills.
Magic.
It's just
magic.
Brilliant.
There's one thing actually that you're rejigging some memories now that really did surprise me is that we managed to get all the footage for the documentary for GoldenEra from Brett, which was set footage from a digital video camera he had back in the day, which is surreal. So you get to see the control level, the set from the end of the movie. Like you get to see it blown up, and before it's blown up, and you think what they managed to do, what Carl Hilton managed to do with his level design to match that set.
Yeah.
On, let's face it, it was experimental hardware. It was Nintendo's first 3D console.
I remember
the first
when they said it. When they said it on the documentary, I was like, digital camera, and I was like, that would have been what, 94?
Yeah.
Early 94?
Who had a camera like that at that time? It's incredible. And back to what you're saying, Chris, I used to rewatch GoldenEye, like you were saying, and recognise the levels, and I'd be like, oh my god, that's the bit in the bunker where it's the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, this is where you throw the modem here, and blah, blah, blah. It just blew my mind. It made the film better, and that's what a video game... Sorry, a movie video game had never done before.
I remember reading somewhere that there was either a shot and deleted scene of Pierce's Bond infiltrating the dam and the facility, but a majority of it was either cut or not filmed. Did the developers have access to the shooting script at all?
They did. Yeah, they did.
I was going to say, because from what I've read from the shooting script, and you'd get the gameplay, it was almost beat for beat exactly written in the shooting script that way.
Yeah, they did. Almost. I remember talking to mine about that. Yeah, I mean, that's how faithful they were. And I mean, if you think as well, back to the team that did it, it's a very different working environment now than how video game studios are set up now. There's a lot of talk about crunch and burnout, and things have changed in the industry. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have, that without crunch, without young people working their butts off into the night in the 90s, a lot of great art, video games, wouldn't exist. And it's like there's a balance between, oh my god, people working themselves into, stressful lives and lonely lives because they're always at work, but creating amazing art. It's like, oh my God, when I actually think, if they went home at 5 o'clock every day, GoldenEye wouldn't have been as good. It would have come and gone in a week, like most games.
I think what came across in the documentary, though, was because they worked together for so much longer periods of time that they really bonded well together. And obviously I think they probably made a better game because they got on so well with each other as well.
Definitely. And they still get on now really well, which is fantastic.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surreal being around them, to be honest, because they're just big kids. Big kids.
Was there anything that you cut from GoldenEra in the end that you were sad to see on the cut room floor, or did you pretty much get it all in?
The editing process was Drew was more heavily involved because he edited the film with help from others. But the problem was, and it was a kind of a good problem, is that as the film was coming together, there was more and more GoldenEye related things hitting the press. So we had the remaster leaked. So we're like, oh my God, the film's ready. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, but there's this happened. It's got to be in the film. You had people breaking speedrun records. You're like, well, they've got to be in. And then there's talk of GoldenEye coming back. There's all these achievements coming up on Xbox Live, and it was more a case of what can we afford to, what can't we leave out? Do you know what I mean? It was just like we were bombarded with content. You know what I mean? We travelled all around the world, and then content was just coming at us in post-production. So it's tricky because, I know Drew sat down for hours with people, and, we did speak about it being a series at one point, like a 6-part series, because there is that much. So eventually when there is I know there's a physical release coming from Altitude in the UK, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember the name of the US distributor, but it'll be jammed full of extras because there is so much. There's so much.
And I think, these kind of documentaries I love so much because as you've mentioned previously, like we didn't have access to this kind of information back then, and we had no idea what was actually going on to making these games and what they were doing. So now seeing what actually was involved, is really interesting, and B is like fascinating to learn what actually was occurring to make these games for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you think about the UK scene in general back then, we were killing it. Grand Theft Auto was made in Leeds? Grand Theft Auto started in Yorkshire. God's County, definitely. We're killing it. You see, US Gold was based in Yorkshire as well. There was all these. We were a hub of creativity.
See, that blows my mind because as a kid, I mean, we're the same age, me and yourself and Rich, but I spent a lot of time in Yorkshire, and it blows my mind that all of these games that took the world by storm and made millions, if not billions, were made in Yorkshire. It's nuts.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. And if you think that Time Splitters was made in Nottingham. Is it Nottingham? Yeah, it's just these normal normal towns. Yeah. When you walk through Nottingham Centre, you walk past. Is it Crytek UK that made it? I can't remember what's off my head.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, their office is just on the high street. You can see in. You can see them working.
That's the crazy thing, because you see these other massive developers and the headquarters, don't you? Like, prime example, you think if it's going to be like a massive Apple CEO location, don't you? Where it's going to be a massive purpose-built building, and they're just unassuming office blocks.
Yeah, it's just very British. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I went to Nottingham a few times, but never once figured that a massive game was ever made there.
It just doesn't occur to you, does it?
No.
I don't know. It just never occurs to you to
when
think
you're
that.
a kid, you just think, well, in the 90s, I thought video games are made in America or Japan.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That was it. That was it. And the fact that Britain has had such an impact and continues to have such an impact is, well, it just shows what an amazing creative country that we are.
Yeah.
I think GoldenEye, Rare. I mean, Rare in the Golden Era. I mean, not so much now. I mean, it pains me to say that. What happened to that company when it was taken over is, it's a disaster, basically. I better not talk about that because it just makes me sad.
You didn't enjoy all those Kinect games? I thought they were fantastic.
I remember buying one of them, and I was just like, I can't believe that they thought this was a good idea. I'm stood in my living room, waving my hands, trying to move a raft. Like, this is not fun. What is going on? And sadly, I've lost hope, and I've getting to know the lads who made the game. I've heard the stories that I probably shouldn't share, but about what happened after the Americans took over, Microsoft took over, and how the ethos of the company changed. And it's a tragedy when you think about that run they had in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
they killed it. Every game they released was awesome. I don't think they had a bad game. They genuinely didn't. And who can say that? I mean, I can't think of a developer now, apart from maybe like From Software, where they release a game and it's good, and you go, right, I'll buy that. You buy it based off the dev, and that's what Rare was back then.
Yeah, such a great company back then, and like you say, it's sad to see the way that they went with making all the Kinect Sport games, and I guess with Sea of Thieves, they've kind of come back a little bit, but still hasn't obviously captured the magic that they did back in the day, unfortunately.
No, it's like any takeover, isn't it? Like, it just destroys that dynamic, and you go from having almost unlimited freedom to not, basically. And you see it with Disney's recent takeover of Fox, and it even happens with, like, this is going to sound like really nerdy, but I'm in good company here. There's a toy company called Art Asylum in America that did amazing video game and Star Trek 6 scale figures. They were taken over by Diamond Select Toys, and their quality went down 70% literally overnight.
Wow.
And like, having a few of the stuff that I've got here, and you look at the Diamond Select stuff, it's not the same. It's like any takeover, it changes it 9 times out of 10 for the negative.
It's sad, isn't it? It's sad, especially when it's art that's involved.
Yeah.
Because I think, when you buy, I think it's a very American thing. You see what's going on with Microsoft at the moment, throwing billions at studios.
Yeah.
You think that that's how they're going to win the gaming market, by throwing money at companies. And do you know what? It's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And I think that the way that what they did with Rare back in the day is a good example of what Microsoft do when they take over a company. They take what's special about it, the people, they change everything. And it's just tragic what happened with Rare. Tragic.
But we've got their legacy to go back on.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I just wish it was on Switch.
Yeah.
Like, Rare Replay should be on Switch. It makes no sense.
There's always rumours and musings, isn't it? And then all of a sudden it all blows over, and for another 6 months, and then it comes up again. And
yeah, it's like, do you not like money? Like, we will give you money.
Yeah.
We'll happily give you money.
Yeah, and we all know that working with the Bond producers is like, trying to find, well, I don't know, blood from a stone, to coin a phrase. There's so much
Bond film.
Yeah, there's just so much red tape, isn't there? So it might be that. It might be they don't run anything. I don't know.
Who honestly, who knows? Literally, there's millions of people all over the world that want to empty the wallet and throw money at them.
I'm literally just waiting. As soon as it gets, if it was dumped tomorrow morning, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't care if it was 50 quid.
No,
I'd still buy it.
Yeah, because, like, if anything like me, you've got an N64, but when was the last time you turned it on?
Yeah, imagine trying to get your N64 running on your 8K TV. It's
not going to happen.
Exactly.
Like, I managed
No.
to get it working on my old 45-inch Sony, and it looked jank.
I can imagine.
And I plugged it into the aerial and managed to manually tune it and find it. But like we said earlier, those games were made for CRT monitors and televisions. They weren't made for flat panel LCDs, and it just looks weird. It looks strange.
Yeah, they look like they're covered in Vaseline, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so odd. And that HD remaster that we all saw leak, and you're just like, just give it to us.
Yeah, I mean, imagine just firing it up. You can see the marketing material now. You can see it. 4 mates in the 90s sat on the couch playing GoldenEye, and then 20 years later, you're all sat on your own couch in your own home as adults with kids playing online on split screen, just like you with each other. I mean, it settles itself. Make it happen.
Yeah,
but it's in widescreen.
Yes, and HD.
And that's the thing as well. Yesterday I watched Drew's interview with Calvin Dyson, James Bond YouTuber.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's great.
And there's another guy, David Zaritsky. He does a lot of James Bond content as well. And they brought up, we haven't had a James Bond game in a decade. Obviously now IO Interactive, they have the rights, but there's no word on what they're doing or how they're doing it. And just wondered your thoughts on what's to come from IO Interactive in the future.
Sure, they're the guys who did Hitman, am I right?
Yes, they are.
Yep. Well, I imagine it'll be Hitman with James Bond.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing.
I mean, that's all it has to be, really. I mean, let's face it, they're not going to try and rewrite the wheel. They're going to try and copy a formula that makes money, because it's too much money to make games these days.
I kind of hope that they do something a bit different with James Bond and not just skin Hitman. Because,
I was going to say that exact thing.
Because, I mean, I've played Hitman, and it wasn't my kind of game. I just couldn't click with it, and I tried. I played it for a few hours, and I just couldn't. I don't know. I just didn't get on with it.
Sorry, but the best game is the original Hitman 2, Jason.
Yeah, well, I played Hitman, so maybe. I don't know.
I played the new one too. I thought, you're right, it didn't click with me. It was, because it's so open-ended. This is me, because I'm getting older. I don't have as much time for games.
Exactly.
When I play a linear game and I know what I'm doing,
yeah.
Last of Us is a great example. You know where you're going at all times. You know what you've got to do. The story's fantastic. You're in it. As soon as I play a game and it goes open world, I'm like, oh God, I don't have the time. It's like having a second job. I've got kids.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to go and climb up another control tower to unlock a bit of the map? Please give me a break.
See, exactly that. I actually got really bored and frustrated with the Batman Arkham series for that exact reason. There's too much to do and too much ground to traverse. Yep. The first Arkham Asylum's great, again, because it's linear. You're on one path, small rooms to explore, and then they open it up, and then they open it up even more. And in the end, I was like, I tapped out. I was like, it's just too much to focus on. And then I started playing the Uncharted games again, and I was just, in my head, I'm like, the remastered Uncharted is amazing. It looks stunning. Yeah, I found myself about a year ago or 2 years ago going, what if Naughty Dog did a James Bond property?
Yeah.
Imagine that. That would be amazing.
Right? You play Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and then you think to yourself, if they did that semi-open world, semi-linear blend that they've managed to do with all those cinematic scenes and interactions that you do, they transferred that to a James Bond property, that would be nuts.
That would be a license to print money.
Literally. It would be, yeah.
And I'm sure there's a few levels in Uncharted where he wears a tuxedo, Nathan.
Yes, there is.
Is it Uncharted 2 at the museum?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
At the party,
I love that game. I love that game. Uncharted 2.
I love all the Uncharted games. They're some of my favourites.
There are so many James Bond references in all of those games. It's insane. Like the whole bit where the cargo plane is lifted straight from Living Daylights, like beat for beat, and it plays beautifully in game. It plays beautifully. You're on the cargo net. You sort of and you just this whole sequence is just brilliantly filmed. And if you transfer that and then say if they remade the Living Daylights scene on the cargo plane and reskins the characters and gave it a bit more James Bond feel to it, I think it would be crazy.
Yeah, like
really
you can hear it now, the music, when you're doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys a question or no? Because I've got an opinion on these and it might clash with yours, but what do you think of the Daniel Craig films?
Mixed bag. 2 great films and 3 semi-okay films, I guess.
Casino Royale, great. Skyfall, pretty amazing.
Skyfall's stunning.
Quantum sort of got better the more you go back to it. I can appreciate it more and more. Spectre was odd. And, yeah.
That's where it was, mate. Spectre, I was like, what is this? Why am I so bored? Why is it so serious? Why is it not funny? Why is it not fun?
Exactly.
Do you know what this film needs? It needs Roger Moore raising an eyebrow, winking to the camera. It needs... I just thought they were desperately needing fun, all of them.
But this is the trouble. When I did Casino and Quantum, there is that classic Bond
definitely
thing behind it, bubbling under the surface. There's that little bit of smarmy irony, that the self-awareness of the films that I've always had. And then Skyfall comes along and it's got humour, and then it balances it really well. And then Spectre and No Time to Die is just like, oh, we're just going to do like really straight up dramas, and you're just like,
for 3 hours.
You lose interest.
I mean,
And
I think the highs of No Time to Die hit high. Like, that film broke me at the end, and I was like, that was really good, but it was still kind of uneven.
Yeah, it's a bloated, too much going on, too many. They're trying to tie too many plot lines up that don't need to be tied up, because they were tied up at the end of Quantum. Skyfall start fresh. But no, they still felt the need to do this massive cinematic universe of tying everything together. It didn't need to be done.
Just give Paloma her own movie. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I always think with the newer films? I think if I was 15 and I was just discovering Bond, would I want to sit through this?
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Would I be like, oh my god, this is better. This is more fun than Avengers. This is better than Guardians of the Galaxy. And I just always think, because if I'm bored I was very bored through Spectre and No Time to Die. I was like, if I'm bored now and I'm a fan, what would a new fan think with these very serious dramas? Whereas I was used to seeing, was it Roger Moore running over crocodiles? And doing spins in a car over a bridge. And an underwater lotus. And
that's what I mean. That's what the James Bond YouTubers are watching. I'm in full agreement with them. You go to see a Bond film for escapism. You go to see a Bond film for therapy from real life.
Yeah.
You don't want to be reminded of real life sitting in a cinema for 2.5 hours. You know,
I didn't want to see my hero die either. I was like,
no, I can understand why they did it. It works great on paper and in principle, but in practice, it's just like, no, what are you doing? Like, just no, leave it open ended, leave it ambiguous. Just wipe the slate clean. Don't kill him. Just have him disappear and then start fresh, whatever you want to do, and then you don't piss off 50% of the fan base. But funny you should bring it up.
Sorry, go on, mate.
Sorry. Finding the later Daniel Craig's a bit boring. When I was a kid and first getting into James Bond, I discovered James Bond through Timothy Dalton first.
Yeah. He was
right,
awesome.
because he was the current Bond when I was getting at that age where you're aware and you're like, oh, I like this kind of thing. What's going on? Then you discover there's a new James Bond. Pierce Brosnan's coming in a couple of years. And you're like, oh my god, like I'm 11, and it's just like, this is like the best thing ever. This is amazing. Yeah. And then when I went back and got VHS, or the ITV would always show a James Bond movie, I used to find the Connery films, like exactly what you just said, very slow and very thinky. But as I've gotten older, they're not so slow and drawn out. But I think it's a product of its time, because it was a Cold War spy thriller. And then in the 70s, it reflected the 70s perfectly well. It was basically James Bond meets Smokey and the Bandit and Cannibal Run. It was just batshit mad. It was just absolutely crazy.
Cocaine must have been pretty good in Leavesden Studios back in the 70s and 80s. But yeah, Bond used to copy trends, didn't it? He copied Star Wars. He went to space. You know, you could always tell what they were doing. If I remember correctly, you can correct me because I'm not as big a Bond fan as you, but the Dalton films felt like a reflection of American action films. Like they felt gritty and
that's
an action film, isn't it? That's a proper action
you watch
film.
License to Kill, that could be any 1980s action flick with Willis, Stallone, Kurt Russell. But when you watch Living Daylights, there's a definite switch over where they've still got the Roger Moore hangover, and then Timothy wanted to do serious stuff, and they were like, no, let's play it a bit safer. So you get a blend of super serious and super light, and it's very disjointing sometimes. License to Kill comes along, and it's literally his, it's his Skyfall, isn't it? It's just like, boom, gritty, serious, dark, 15 certificate. And then I think when Pierce comes in and Timothy says he doesn't want to carry on because it's in his past, and they told Pierce they wanted a blend of Roger Moore and Sean Connery because they wanted to get the fans back.
Yeah.
And you can see why they did it, because if they did something so radical when Bond's been off the air for 6.5 years, you're gonna piss people off. They're not gonna come back. But if you do exactly what they expect and follow the exact same beats, and then that's when you get Pierce's James Bond's films.
Yeah.
Less said about Die Another Day the better, because that just went extreme. But it was a perfect blend, and we've all got to admit, in the 90s, when we were kids and teenagers, they were fantastic. They did exactly what they said on the tin. You knew you were going to go and get a best of reel of James Bond quips, sexism, sexy stuff, gadgets, action.
Yeah, exactly. They were
2 hours of therapy. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not 2 hours of.
They're made for 15-year-old kids. Them films.
Yeah.
Really, that's what the Pierce. Oh my God, Pierce! I'm tired. I can't remember what he's called now. Jesus Christ, what's he called now?
Brosnan.
Oh, this sunthroat's kicking in, boys. The early 2000s was full of janky action. Mm-hmm. And thanks to George Lucas, a lot of very dodgy CGI implemented in films.
Yeah.
And it felt like, from Golden Eye, gritty, practical effects driven, miniatures, everything, to this dodgy CGI. Is it The World Is Not Enough where... No, it's Die Another Day, isn't it, where he's at the ice hotel.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all Die Another Day.
Paragliding thing with the green screen.
Good God.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, they're awful, and it seems like Brosnan aged about 20 years in between them films.
Yeah.
Because he's
that's
I signed
the
up
thing.
to be Bond, and I'm this cheesy action. He wasn't even an action hero. It was just a bit of a cringe. Cringy.
I think he, like Sean Connery before him, when Sean Connery came back for Diamonds Are Forever to kind of erase Lazenby, you know what I mean? And I don't think Pierce was interested at all in Die Another Day. I think he just did it to cash a check.
Yeah.
Because I think he knew that the producers were gonna, and he's very not very bitter. Is the wrong word to say, but there's an interview with him where he says he got a phone call from Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli and said, we're going to go in a different direction. And I think that hurt him deep down, because as far as he was aware, he was their golden child. He was the one that Kirby Broccoli wanted in 87,
Yeah.
And I think to be let go...
a long time, didn't he? A very long time for that.
To be let go like that, I think just really hurt him, and I think it's damaged any future relations with Pierce, I think, because he's very... He always changes the subject on interviews. When it's brought up, he's just like, let's, move on.
Yeah,
and he laughed about Die Another Day when he went to the premiere and he said he looked around the Royal Albert Hall and he said, then I looked up on the screen and there was this he said, Bond surfing a tsunami and it was really bad. And he laughed. He cracks up in the interview when he's talking to the camera and he creases up because he realised how fucking ridiculous it was.
It's hilarious. So I only learned recently that he was offered the role before Timothy Dalton, and it was a last-minute thing with a TV show he was meant to be in.
Oh yeah,
it was renewed.
Remington Steele.
Yeah, he was waiting in the wings for it to be announced as a new Bond, apparently, which is
yeah. But that was the cheek of the TV series because they got wind of him auditioning and the Broccoli family wanting him as Bond to replace Roger. So the TV show deliberately renewed his contract because it was already making newspapers, so they had the publicity. So if they renewed his contract, he wouldn't become Bond. So they got twofold publicity. Yeah. They kept him. They get the publicity. They've got the guy who was nearly James Bond back for one more season. Yeah. But then we wouldn't have had Timothy Dalton's two spectacular movies to look fondly back on and go, yeah, you were doing it before Craig tried it. Yeah, that's fair enough.
And what were you thinking for next Bond?
Ooh.
I apologise, I'm taking over the questions here.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
It's quite nice being the guest.
Yeah,
so good.
I put my feet up and...
Yeah, they recently said, didn't they, it's going to be at least a 2 to 3 year decision.
Well, it should be.
Yeah, they're apparently working on where to go, and you're just like, well, where the fuck else can you go after killing James Bond and pissing 50% of your audience off? You know, it boggles my mind that they can't work out what they want to do. It's like, well, you've got nearly 60 years of legacy now. You can go anywhere with casting. I mean, obviously everyone's... It's going to sound really weird, but people like Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan were the cookie cutter James Bonds. They're almost grown in a lab to become that character.
Yeah, you just look at him, you know,
right?
You know.
You're like, you're off a production line, and the only one we've got similar to that right now is Henry Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his demo reel would be Napoleon Solo in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Such a good film.
Fucking great, stiff-ass Brit, you know, great film. But I think by the time it comes along, he's going to be early 40s. And I don't think that going from big tentpole DC movies like Superman to James Bond will be a wise choice. They won't do that. And I've said this before, like, they will not cast people like Henry Cavill or Idris Elba is a big one at the moment. It'll be someone we have no idea who it is.
Which is how it should be. Like, I don't want a Tom Hardy, or it's just lazy at that point. I mean, I don't know.
I'm in the mindset of they've gone dark and gritty with the everyday man Bond. They should, I think, go back to the, you know, tall, dark, handsome kind of guy.
Tom Hiddleston? He's always
he's got a weird eyes. They're too close together. It doesn't look right.
Okay.
Well, Ethan Ballon's available.
Yeah.
Yes. Do it.
And he's got his own car. So don't worry about
that.
which is in my garage right now.
Oh, no, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
He's followed me into my new house. I'm like, Ethan Ballon follows me wherever I go. So it's quite funny. Last year, right, I had a bit of a cleanse from the film. I was like, this has been 3 years of my life, bringing back GoldenEye. And I burnt so many of the props.
Oh, no.
Did you?
Yeah, there was like posters and bits and bobs, and I was just like, I need like a
just a
cleanse.
complete detox.
Yeah, because like every time I open a cupboard, I'd see his face. You know, mugs or t-shirts or just everything, and I was just like, oh god, I'm so done. So I had a lovely fire, and I sent Daniel Bruce, the actor, some pictures of his posters burning, kind of like the end of Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader's burning in the wood pile.
Yeah. I thought you were going to make a space reference then with Tim burning his Star Wars stuff.
Don't get me started on Star Wars. I'm very bitter about what's happened with my beloved Star Wars.
I maintain that Rogue One is brilliant. I can't stand the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
I can't.
Rogue One's great. I like the standalone universe building. I love Rogue One, and I have done ever since the cinema.
Sure, it's the best of the new ones. I'll give you that, but only because it's so much of what we want to see. You know, if it wasn't for that last 20 minutes, I'd be like, well, it's a bit of an average war film in space. But then, Gold Leader standing by, I'm like, fucking hell!
Yeah.
The problem is, the more they make these spin-offs, the more they create plot holes. Yes. And as a nerd, I'm furious. And I feel like there's not enough care from the people who are making these things. Because they're not hiring people who know the source material enough. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
And the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which was, you know, people I seem to either love it or hate it. I was apathetic to it. I just thought it created so many more plot holes, and it makes Star Wars, which is the most beloved film possibly of all time. I'd say it actually makes it worse. It makes it dumber. It fills you with questions going, hey, on the Death Star, why did Princess Leia run onto the Millennium Falcon when Obi-Wan Kenobi was having a fight with Darth Vader and not even look and say hello to him or show any concern? And I'm like, what? And then, I'm sorry, I could go off on a tangent.
Yeah, don't.
I am
because,
so mad. I'm so mad.
Because I'm kind of nerding out right now because Star Wars now has its Star Trek problems. And it's come full circle, finally.
And who created the problems for Star Trek?
God.
Was it a certain JJ?
No. I actually really liked the 2009 JJ movie and Star Trek Beyond.
A lot of people...
Star Trek Into Darkness, don't even get me started on that.
Do you know what? I wasn't much of a fan when I started watching the JJ ones, but like the more I kind of rewatch and learn the Trek lore, the newer shows have just gone so far from what it is and what it should be about. But I mean, Picard was cringe TV.
I didn't.
It was awful.
I gave it a
Awful.
chance, and being a big Next Gen fan, now the original series, obviously it's so dated, but they're doing Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I love Anson Mount as Captain Pike. They're really fleshing it out, but at the same time, does it need doing? You're just creating more issues, and you're claiming it's in one Prime universe when it's not. It's clearly not.
Mm-hmm.
And I've decided just to accept it as its own continuity, its own thing, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans are doing that with Star Wars. They're calling like the sequel trilogy the J.J. Abrams universe, and they're disjointing it and not discounting it, but allowing it to exist in a different bubble.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been doing it with with new Star Trek. It just exists in a different timeline somewhere, and then everyone's happy. But what they're doing Strange New Worlds is, again, like we've got a problem with the pre-Star Wars stuff, is it's creating so many unnecessary questions, plot holes and twists and stuff that you just like, why?
Yeah, it's
just like that Ryan Reynolds gif, but why?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that,
like,
I'm only an amateur, I'm an amateur filmmaker, but I pained over my scripts to make sure there's no plot holes. Pained over it. I mean, I stressed about things which no one will ever even care about and never even think about because I put the care into it, and it baffles me that you can greenlight a Star Wars trilogy without a script for the films or a story.
And the same has been happening with Jurassic Park as well.
Oh, awful.
Like Jurassic World, Dominion. Jesus Christ.
Dominion,
like,
my kids fell asleep.
I mean, the Locust movie, that was fun.
Yeah, and we said on another recording,
It was like,
it was just like you just sit there in the cinema and you're going to yourself, why do they have that line or that task in this film? You have Sam fucking Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and Laura Dern. Give them shit to do.
Mm-hmm. And
Not
what did
just-
we do? We're going to bring back the original characters and we're going to make them go undercover and find some locusts. in
Yeah,
a dinosaur
it
movie.
was like the most pointless thing ever. And I remember coming out of it going like, what? Like, you should have had them straight bang smack in the middle of everything. Throw them in a deep end and then in the end it was just like, oh, okay, so that's... And then everybody lives.
Yeah, there's no stakes. There's no stakes.
Yes,
There's no
I
threat.
didn't want them to kill a legacy character, maybe apart from Chris Pratt, but like...
Here's
just
the thing,
like-
right? Here's the thing, right? Sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
No, it's fine.
The first Jurassic Park, right? At any moment you thought someone could die.
yes.
The dinosaurs were a very, very real threat. You were terrified. As a kid, you watched it, you were terrified. Because it was made by an actual director. It's got a real story. It's not about dinosaurs. It's about a man connecting with children. It's about children who have no father figure. Bonding. There just happens to be giant dinosaurs, which are a giant threat. And then the new films are now about giant dinosaurs. They've forgotten that they need to actually have some substance to make it memorable and art. Now, all these big franchises, they're not art, they're not films, they're just products.
Yep.
They hype you up. We've all fell for it. We went to watch Jurassic Park, they got our 20 quid, 30, 40 quid. They've got our money, and we're bitching on a podcast. They won.
Yeah.
They won.
Yep, they won, indeed. Well, we better let you get on, Jim, because you stayed longer than you...
That was a segue, tangent and a half. But
I did
it was what we
enjoy
did
that,
best.
boys. I appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah, but it makes it a natural free flow. It's fine.
yeah.
There you go, Chris.
But
Don't tell our secrets. Come on.
Yeah, just before you go, I wanted to say this thing as well. Like, the fan films are made by the people with the most love and adoration for the source.
Yeah.
That, yes, some acting and production skills might be awful or subpar, but for Christ's sake, you're watching a fan film. You're watching fans making a film for the sheer love of it, and that shines through.
Yeah.
You have a love for the source material and what you're trying to do, rather than a studio cashing big mega bucks and merchandise rights, you know?
Yeah, completely.
And it comes
Completely
through.
agree.
Like, I've seen some Star Wars and Star Trek fan films, and they're amazing. And your 2 fan films as well. It's just like,
Thank you.
It's refreshing to know that people are also noticing and discovering fan-made productions, whether it be a fan-made documentary or a fan-made straight acted film, or in your case a mockumentary like, you know, Spinal Tap meets gaming. You know, it's
Yeah.
because of the love behind it. It's literally, you can feel that buzz coming off of the production just from that.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that because it's just, yeah, it just filled
appreciate
me,
that.
filled me with so much joy and happiness. Because
really glad to hear that.
because you can see that you guys were having the time of your life making it, as stressful as it could be. The buzz, you could feel
I wasn't
that.
having much fun.
Yeah, but you could feel the buzz, like, just
Yeah.
in essence, it's a group of mates screwing around with a camera, isn't it? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
but with a script and a structure and a narrative, and it just, yeah, it's great.
Well, I
Great
hope it
stuff.
inspires you to make your own film one day too. Because if I can do it, you can do it.
I'd love to see a Chris film. That'd be amazing.
No,
Me too.
no, that would be
Put me
deep
down for a
dive.
ticket.
Yeah.
That would be a deep dive into my mind that no one should ever have access to.
Well, knowing your punctuality, it'll never come out.
Well,
Chris
Jim,
hasn't showed up on set. Where is he? Like,
yeah, thank
it's
you so much for
That's been
for joining. It's
fantastic.
been an awesome conversation. And can you just anyone listening? I mean, are your films still available on like Blu-ray or anything like that? And if they are, where can they find them? And where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, going for Golden Eye actually got a physical release in North America through Wild Eye Releasing, which I've seen DVDs knocking about, so that is out. That's out there, and it's on VOD on the internet. Bringing Back Golden Eye was released for free actually for charity, which I'm quite proud of. So that is available for free for a limited time. I think it's going to be released for a year for free. So that year will be coming up soon. So watch it on YouTube for free while you can, because eventually it's going to be a proper release. And I'm just on Twitter, Jim Stallone. Come and say hello.
Well, that's it for this one. Thank you as always to everyone for joining us. And if you've enjoyed the podcast and would like to support us, then we have a coffee page where you can give us a one-off tip, or if you're feeling kinder, a monthly tip starting from £1. A massive thank you to all who have done so. You're all legends. And if that is not right for you right now, you can also support us by giving us a review or rating on Apple, Spotify or Podchaser. You can find the links in the show notes. Don't forget about our new Discord channel. If you'd like to come and join in the conversation about retro or modern day pop culture, then a link can be found also in the show notes for that. Next time we have the video games of 1997, and I think it is going to be very Nintendo 64 heavy, so look out for that one in a couple of weeks' time. Chaps, it's time to say goodbye.
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 My name has been Jason. Dom, it's over to you.
Well, that's it for another episode of What's Wrong with Wolfie. The boys are off now to hit the roulette table with Patricia Routledge. See you later.
Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.